Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy new day start to this last day. It's the last day of October, and we got a really jam-packed month for November coming up here with lots of economic events during this week and actually next week as well. Several pieces of economic data coming out, as well as the FOMC meeting, and then of course US midterms, I believe, which is next week on the 8th. Anyways, with all of that said, a lot to discuss today. I wanted to go over some Hopium things to be looking for, some big charts that are going to have major clarity coming into tomorrow, the first day of November, and then follow up on the short-term time frame analysis as well. Other than that, before I get into that analysis, I do want to say that the quant program is going to be increased in value as of tomorrow, November 1st. We're also going to be adding, of course, Discord access, plus maybe a couple of new strategies as well. Anyways, as well as a few other videos, actually. Anyways, yes, without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. I wanted to start off first with the big bad chart, the one chart to rule them all, kind of, on the monthly right here. The monthly chart, the monthly accumulation distribution indicator chart, more accurately, has been incredibly good at getting the macro shifts and directions throughout Bitcoin's full history, going all the way back to the genesis back in 2010, actually. And in this case, any sort of a slope change that we have seen on this indicator in the extremes has correlated incredibly well with macro shifts in direction. When I say macro shifts in direction, I mean that it doesn't necessarily get the exact top or the exact bottom, but it gets close enough within about 2 to 3 months to the point where I put a lot of weight on it for kind of governing when it is time to be looking for perhaps the next major turnaround. And in this case, I want to quickly show you just the backtest results of it. Quite clear and simple. You can see all of these green vertical bars correlate with slope changes in the extremes. For example, let's just kind of nail down on two. We have this one over here in March 2018, and then we have this one over here in March 2019. Now, if you remember March 2018, it wasn't necessarily the ultimate high, but it did get the right shift before that humongous dump-ola party, which I believe from that signal given to the next major low, yeah, 72.5%, not fucking bad, huh? Anyways, and then of course on the other side, when we got the first slope change in the extreme on the red zone to the upside right here, well, that was pretty much right around your low. You can see, again, it's not going to be like super exact. Bitcoin certainly did wick lower in December 2018, but on a closing basis, really didn't oscillate too far away from that region and did not go below that region as well. So I really like it for long term. We're talking about monthlies here, so it's not something that I expect to like all come to fruition in just one fucking day, but over the course of a few months. And in this case, the reason why I bring it up is two reasons. So first and foremost, coming into the end of November, this is the last day of November, by the way, or at least that's what my calendar tells me, I think. Or it's October. Fucking hell, man. It's Halloween, by the way. Happy Halloween. I don't do shit for Halloween though. Whoop whoop. In this case, we've seen the slope drastically reduce in its severity for the first time, really since this dump-ola party started, more than a year ago now. So in this case, if we do come into tomorrow, November, and see this indicator start to get a positive slope, that'd be a really good indication that Bitcoin's likely setting up for an extended bear market rally at minimum. Maybe it is the macro low. I hold my reservations on that greatly, but ultimately Bitcoin could put in a nice monthly rally, and monthly rally within the context of an asset that travels during these distances could be quite impressive. Probably, would even last a few months as well. So that's a big one that I'm looking at. And then also just the positioning of where the accumulation distribution indicator is, for example, on this green horizontal bar has been incredibly well correlated again with getting around the macro low. So I actually haven't marked these off of the green vertical bars, but these actually do correlate a little bit better on the timing of the low. And obviously that was our Bitcoin. No, the indicator is already around that level as of a couple months ago. So, you can see that Bitcoin's been going sideways ever since, kind of similar to what we did see over here and over here, as you can see, or if you maybe can see a little bit better right there. But ultimately, tomorrow, November, is going to be very revealing towards that. Anyways, I wanted to bring up the next piece of Hopium for the higher term timeframes, and it actually has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It has to do with Dixie. So this is one of the charts that we've been looking at for the past few weeks here, kind of suggesting that it is putting in a local high on a weekly timeframe. So a rather powerful timeframe, obviously. And again, while I am looking for a pullback here, or very likely a pullback not the same thing as a reversal. Long term, like macro on Dixie, I'm still quite bullish until proven otherwise. But this thing can come down quite a fair bit and still remain within its overall long-term bullish structure. So in this case, we are seeing a continuation of the signals that we were looking at that were confirmed last week, and we're kind of getting what we expect this week. So first and foremost is that weekly volatility is starting to cool off. So we've seen two extremes. Typically, when you get two extremes like this really, really close to each other and it goes back into a contraction phase, it's usually going to be, at least in this case, a short-term reversal or a short-term pullback based upon a weekly. And then also combining that with the weekly jewel, which did get a downside signal confirmed as of last week and is continuing to this week as well. And we have 4 drives of bearish divergence on weekly RSI. I would say that this one very likely does come down further south into the month of November or December, as this again is a weekly, so it could take some time. Tentatively speaking, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this thing come back down somewhere around about $1.05.5 in the next coming months, with bounces along the way somewhere around like 108 or so, give or take half buck. Anyways, the only way to invalidate this, or essentially not validate this as a local high, would be to come back up, close above about 114, and then it's just like the dollar wrecking ball continues, I guess. And I suspect that this is going to massively coincide with the event on Wednesday, which is the FOMC meeting. So obviously Dixie is going to be moving around, and we do expect that on the higher term timeframes, and on the fucking lower term timeframes, this drives me wild when I see people do this on like anything less than a daily or a weekly, let alone. But on the higher term timeframes, we do see contra trend for risk on assets, typically speaking, just in general. So just another thing in the Hopium case right here. Anyways, let's now get into the short term for Bitcoin. We were looking at a short term pullback over the weekend on spot price action. We're getting that pullback as of right now. Let me just go over to Bitcoin's chart, but now I'm going to switch back on to CME's chart. And of course, on CME's chart, it's basically the same thing. Can Bitcoin pull back a little bit more here? Certainly possible. Anything above 20,200 is completely fine. Still just another higher low. So I don't really have any strong opinions on the short-term timeframes as of right now. If we go back to the chart that we were working on yesterday, you can actually see the LARP line's still actually in the vicinity right there. These are not intended to be a one-to-one representation, by the way. I think most people get that, but every once in a while, I read a comment that's like, "What the fuck, man? It didn't do exactly what the line said." It's like, dude, it's a representation of what you can kind of expect in general. Relax, fucking relax, man. It's like, if you don't call the price to the exact decimal point, fuck you, man. It's like, okay. All right. Internet's a hell of a place, man. Internet's a hell of a place. But yeah, as long as Bitcoin's above about 20,200 on a 4-hour closing basis, I would say that, trend just favors the boo laws on short-term, medium-term timeframes, and you still do have a bullish consolidation. Where things start to change around, and I want to be very fucking clear with this, is below that level, especially on a medium or higher-term timeframe closing basis, 20,200. If you want to, be even a little bit more conservative with it, then 20,000 even would be the number to be watchful of. Why is that? Because that would confirm this price action over here. Let me just circle it off. It would confirm this price action right here as a local high, thus a lower high and a slew of lower highs, by the way, right at the 618 Fibonacci retracement as well, and would also simultaneously confirm hidden bearish divergence of 1, 2, 3 drive variety on the daily. So very likely coming back down to the prior range lows with bounces along the way after that, in the following like week or two or whatever it ends up being. Anyways, the lights have gone completely haywire in the background. So what do you do about that? Don't know, man. Don't know. Another day, another bullshit, but it's all good, man. It's all good. These are first world problems. Here. Anyways, yes. So now that we've gotten off of that, let's now get into the short-term time frame. The short-term time frame indicators. 4-hour BBWP is going for a full contraction. I do suspect that it's going to kind of do something like this. So that does imply that if we are going to get a move outside of the range, probably doesn't happen in the morning hours here. It probably happens, sometime during the U.S. trading session a little bit later. Personally speaking, I could see this very easily going into tomorrow, Tuesday. Maybe even just sets it up for Wednesday, which is the FOMC event, which I suspect that a lot of people are waiting for. Anyways, so yes, we've gone over the potential trap. There is still a potential trap in there, but unconfirmed, obviously. And obviously to the upside, any sort of a closure basically above, the range highs, about 20,950. even on like a 4-hour time frame. And yeah, I'd be looking for the next short-term leg up somewhere around the 0.5, which puts Bitcoin between about 21.3 to 21.5, and definitely potential for more on top of that as well. The reason why I say that is going to be clarified a little bit later, but before we get into that, I did want to also go over the short-term time frame stochastic momentum, just see where the pivots are, if there's any sort of a short-term bias. And for right now, 6-hour time frame is headed down as long as Bitcoin's below 20,680, which it currently is, obviously. 4-hour time frame is going to be up actually above as long as Bitcoin's above 20,320. 3-hour time frame is going to be up as well as long as Bitcoin's above 20,550, which currently speaking, it's actually below. And hourly is going to be down as long as Bitcoin's below 20,650. So I don't really have a strong opinion based off that. Probably fills out the range a little bit more, probably comes down maybe a little bit lower. And then I think for the Bulaw's sake, they hope that it bounces above about 20,200, maintaining that higher low structure. Again, on a closing base, very important right there. Anyways, the last chart that I want to get to is, of course, the daily CME chart, the one that I've gone over a million fucking times, and it is this. It is the one thing. It is another sort of point in the Bulaw's court in terms of Hopium here, in the sense that we do have this setup still viable as of right now. The daily volatility. So this is a volatility versus stochastic momentum signature, and daily volatility. Basically, anytime throughout the full history of CME that we've seen it come down below 10 percentile, which I define as extreme lows, and then expand above 10 percentile. We have observed, again, throughout the full history of CME, an average move born upon that signature of about 24.25%, done over the course of about 2.5 weeks from signal given. And the stochastic also have been correct in getting the direction of that volatility expansion about 83.33% of the time. So as of right now, the daily stochastic is still pointed healthily to the upside and will be remaining to the upside as long as Bitcoin's above 19,600. So, as long as that condition is met, I think that this plays into the Hopium case, obviously. Below that, then, well, not so much. But for right now, let's reference some of the numbers here. Keeping in mind the first standard deviation of these results represents a range between about 15% all the way up to 33.3%. And so let me just get it in. It's not gonna be like super exact, but 15% puts you about 21.5 to 21.7 region. 24% puts you at about 23,500, and 33% puts you about around the summer highs. So we would kind of expect that, let's say the accumulation distribution indicator chart does print a good signal for the Bulaw's coming into tomorrow. There's probably gonna be the next sort of stone in the castle. I don't know if that's a saying, but that's probably gonna be the next big piece of data that probably validates the continuation move on top of this. We are getting pretty close to the first target, or it's already gotten pretty close to the first target. Bitcoin traded up north or close to 21,100 or so. And of course, the lowest of the first standard deviation would be around that 21.5 region. So yeah, those are the areas of interest to the upside upon continuation, again, validated by the short-term timeframes. And then of course, the Dixie and monthly look are the things that I'm looking forward to the most right now. Anyways, other than that, I want to be wishing you the best as always. Take care. Much love, and see you hopefully soon.